Nearly 500 years ago, long before photography or digital tools existed, there was someone capable of creating images so strange, so deceptive, that no one could understand how they were even possible. His works defied the logic of the time. At first glance, a still life, but when flipped, a face would emerge. An optical illusion so precise it fooled scholars, nobles, and artists alike. Among all his creations, there is one that continues to baffle even experts today: Vertumnus. Its complexity is such that, although the portrait is made entirely of fruits and vegetables, its anatomical precision reveals the hand of someone who deeply understood the human body. Every element was chosen deliberately, forming an illusion so perfect that even artificial intelligence today would struggle to replicate such flawless work. Giuseppe Arcimboldo is one of the most enigmatic artists of the Renaissance. While most painters of his time adhered to traditional styles, Arcimboldo created a completely different approach: portraits composed of fruits, flowers, books, animals, or everyday objects. Today, it is estimated that only around 25 original works signed by his hand still exist, which makes his legacy even more mysterious and valuable. Only 2 self-portraits by this artist are known. The first is a watercolor in which he portrays himself looking directly at the viewer, a pose reminiscent of artists like Dürer. This type of image, also common in representations of divine figures such as Christ Pantocrator, can be interpreted as an affirmation of his identity as a creator. The second self-portrait is even more revealing. Arcimboldo constructs his own face out of strips of paper, already showing his early interest in combining different elements to form a unified image. During his lifetime, Arcimboldo was a well-known and admired artist, especially in European courts. However, after his death, his work was forgotten for centuries. Even in 1920, when a collector tried to sell 2 of his paintings, no one showed any interest in buying them. It wasn't until the rise of 20th century avant-garde movements such as Impressionism and especially Surrealism that his art began to be appreciated once again. Surrealist artists were particularly drawn to his visual compositions that changed depending on perspective. For example, a figure made of flowers or fruit that, when viewed from afar, reveals a human face. The same logic can be found in some Impressionist works, where what appears to be a simple blotch of color becomes a landscape when observed from a certain distance. In Arcimboldo's case, what seems to be a mere basket of fruit, when flipped, transforms into a human portrait. This visual trickery was key in leading the Surrealists to regard him as a forerunner of their movement. Giuseppe Arcimboldo was born into a family of artists in Milan. His father worked creating stained glass windows, and Arcimboldo himself began his career by following that same craft. By the age of 21, he was already a member of the Painters Guild in his hometown. His talent led him to become a court painter for Emperor Ferdinand I in Vienna, but Arcimboldo didn't limit himself to portraits. At court, he participated in all kinds of events. He designed decorations for performances, created costumes, and organized masquerades, jousts, and celebrations. He was a complete artist, involved in every visual and theatrical aspect of palace life. His most profound relationship was with Emperor Rudolf II, an eccentric figure with a deep passion for science, art, and knowledge. Under his patronage, Arcimboldo developed many of his most original works, including Vertumnus, which we'll analyze later in this video, and which, in my opinion, is one of the most complex paintings ever created. One of Arcimboldo's most well-known commissions was a series composed of 8 portraits, the 4 seasons of the year and the 4 elements of nature. This series was originally created for Emperor Maximilian II, and it was so successful that Arcimboldo reproduced it several times at the request of the court. Spring is particularly striking. The portrait is made up of more than 80 different species of flowers, all depicted with remarkable precision. It is believed that Arcimboldo painted many of these flowers from life. Every part of the figure's body is formed from a different plant: daisies, lilies, nettles, brambles, cabbage leaves, and many others. One of the lesser discussed but most important aspects of Arcimboldo's work is his close connection to the science of his time. For years, he collaborated as an illustrator for prominent botanists, which explains the accuracy with which he painted each fruit, flower, or vegetable. His knowledge was far from superficial. Every element he included in his paintings came from direct observation of nature. The species he used could be identified, and many are rendered with a level of detail comparable to what one might find in scientific treatises. Moreover, Arcimboldo lived at a time when museums, as we know them today, did not yet exist. Instead, aristocratic courts housed what were known as cabinets of curiosities, spaces where natural objects, taxidermy animals, scientific instruments, exotic artifacts, and works of art were collected and displayed. One of the most famous cabinets of the time belonged to Rudolf II, who owned one of the largest collections in Europe. That atmosphere of accumulation, of mixing and categorizing the natural and the artificial had a profound influence on Arcimboldo's imagination. His portraits, composed of dozens of distinct elements that, together, form a human face, reflect the same logic as those cabinets, an ordered combination of fragments that reveals a more complex whole. Before we continue, I'd like to remind you that if you'd like to have a painting by this artist in your collection, you can now do so through our website. In the description, you'll find a link where you can explore a collection featuring his best works, ready for you to bring into your home. Shipping is completely free, and by collecting your favorite piece, you'll also be supporting me in creating more videos like this one. Thank you so much for your support. Now, let's continue. Vertumnus, the final commission Arcimboldo completed for the emperor, represents the culmination of his composite heads. The portrait depicts the emperor transformed into Vertumnus, the god from Etruscan and Roman mythology associated with change and the cycle of the seasons. But beyond the mythological symbolism, what truly astonishes is the painting's incredible complexity. Every fruit, every leaf, every flower has been placed with anatomical precision. The vegetables behave like muscles, tendons, and bones. The structure of the face, the volume of the cheekbones, the tension of the neck, all seem to reflect a deep understanding of the human body. This artist achieves the unthinkable, turning a botanical repertoire into a realistic portrait. A pear becomes a nose, red berries form full lips, a corn cob serves as an ear, and what appears to be a zucchini represents, astonishingly well, the sternocleidomastoid muscle of the neck. This technical sophistication makes Vertumnus one of the most intricate paintings in art history. There's not a single element out of place. Everything fits with millimetric accuracy. There are no known writings by Arcimboldo clearly explaining the meaning behind his portraits. He left behind no letters, no manifestos, no theories about his work. This absence has opened the door to a wide range of interpretations, from those who believe his portraits were courtly jokes, to others who see them as complex expressions of mannerist or even philosophical thought. Some scholars have suggested that these works represent a form of microcosm, the idea, inherited from Aristotelian tradition, that the human being is a synthesis of the natural world. From this perspective, each of Arcimboldo's portraits would not simply depict a person made of external elements, but serve as a symbol of how everything in the universe is interconnected. Without a direct explanation from the artist himself, all these theories remain open. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for watching until the end, and I'll see you in the next video.